The city of York has many hidden gems nestled within its streets. One such gem is Barley Hall. Join us now as we take a look around this magnificent medieval manor house. Barley Hall belongs to York Archaeological Trust and is named after the Trust's first chairman, Professor Maurice Barley, a distinguished archaeologist and expert on buildings. The reconstruction of Barley Hall was a direct result of archaeological excavations conducted in 1987 and 1990. Work to restore the hall to its former glory began in 1990 and it opened to the public in 1993. The room that we see now is the Great Hall, which was built around 1430, on the site of an earlier hall. It was the room where the household ate alongside the family. Members of the family sat at the raised high table, and the lesser folk at the side tables, flanking the central fireplace. A smoke hole is located directly above the central hearth. The table on the Lord's right was called the reward, since it was served with the dishes from the Lord's table. The table on the Lord's left was the second mess. The furnishings and equipment you see at the hall have been created to depict the hall as it might have appeared about 1483, when the Nostell family lived here and Richard III was King of England. The gallery is part of a brick extension added to the back of Barley Hall, probably during the late 1500s. The timber frame wall which separates the parlour from the gallery was originally the outside wall of the medieval building. The windows further along, which look down into the Great Hall, provide daylight to the Great Hall and were enclosed in the later extension. These two rooms, the lesser and great chambers, on the first floor were two of the bedchambers in Master Nostell's house. These would be the most richly decorated rooms in the whole building. Wealthy people in the 15th century would show off their wealth through the use of bright colours and decoration. The smaller bedchamber, the ladies' chamber, would have been the sitting room for Lady Nostell and her friends, daughters and senior servants. Many of the timbers in this room are original, including another carpenter's mark on the main crossbeam where it joins the wall that separates the gallery and the lesser chambers. The Great Chamber would have been the grandest private room in Barley Hall. It was a combination of master bedroom, study, private dining room and inner sanctum for the master of the house. The magnificent Great Chamber, which can be accessed directly by the staircase up the outside of the building, and the courtyard, was Master Nostell's own room. The Great Chamber was definitely intended to impress. Its sheer scale, rising through 2 stories, would have told any visitor that this was the house of a rich and important person. On display on the first floor are a handful of costumes from stage plays and movies, each of which add points of interest to the hall. The parlour would have been Master Nostell's office and business room. He would meet his customers here, go through his accounts and deal with correspondence. Parlour comes from the French parler, to speak, and this reflects the use of parlours for business matters. The table and writing desk were placed in front of the window to make the most of the natural light. The writing desk contains 2 inkhorns and slots for several quill pens. Black and red inks were used most commonly, with red ink reserved for especially important details. We call important days red letter days, as medieval scribes would have marked down major feast days in red ink. The buttery and pantry were part of the service area of the house. In a country house in the Middle Ages, both bread and beer would have been made on the premises. But in a busy city like York, bread would be brought from bakeries and ale from brewers. These rooms were just for storage. The buttery, overseen by a butler, was used to store wine and ale in butts or barrels. At meal times, the butler would be in charge of decanting the drinks into the jugs for serving. The pantry next door was the realm of the pantler, whose special responsibility was the storing and preparation of bread. White bread, which required much more processing, was very expensive and was therefore reserved for the family and their guests. The rest of the household would have wholemeal bread. The pantry was also a storage area for other food stalls, and a venue for the plating up and presentation of foods before they were taken into the Great Hall. Barley Hall is a fantastic place to visit, a true gem hidden in the back streets of York. It is easy to spend a couple of hours exploring, letting the setting take you back in time to the high medieval period of England.